Hello and welcome to my astrology friends. Welcome to your astrological forecast for January 2025. Yes, we are here. I'm going to be looking at overview, which planets are going to be dominating the skies, which signs of zodiac is going to be affected the most. So it will be an overlook at the month ahead, and then I'm going to look at each sun sign stroke rising sign for January 2025. Before I do that, if you could become a subscriber, it all helps. That'd be fantastic. And also do like the video that you're watching. Okay, so let's get to it. And what can we expect from January 2025 and to kickstart our new year? Well, we come off the back of a new moon that I explored in my last video. It was in Capricorn. That was on the 30th of December last year. And so that sort of pulls in that energy of a new start. The first 2 weeks of the year are going to be powerful when the moon is waxing. And therefore, it's all about the external and putting that energy out. On the 3rd, we've got Venus moving into Pisces. That's a lovely combination because Venus is exalted in Pisces, so it can actually function, it can do stuff, great for the creative arts, really good for relationships in general, really good for like psychic development or the energy of looking at things from a different perspective. It's such a powerful planetary combination with that zodiac sign. It really works really well. And if you've got obviously Venus in Pisces when you were born, then you're in for your Venus return, which is very, very nice, which should give you a kind of a real sense of things moving forward in that direction. But that doesn't like politically or economically change things too much. On the 8th, we've got Mercury that enters into Capricorn. And that's a lovely combination. Mercury's can be quite disciplined in Capricorn and really kind of get a lot done. Our communication skills become clearer or much more direct, much more ambitious in the scope of where we're going. And, you know, in December, we had a Mercury retrograde until the 15th of December last year. And that's now come out of its shadow period. So Mercury can actually function and do stuff and actually communicate. And travel disruption is less so, communication problems less so, less misunderstandings, all that kind of stuff. Then on the 13th, we've got a full moon, and it's at 23 degrees in Cancer. And that's really kind of powerful because obviously the moon is the natural ruler for Cancer. And if you've got planets around about 22, 23, 24 degrees in either Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, then you're going to be deeply affected by this energy and a shift of energy. It's about the home, bringing back the home environment where you feel at home, looking after the body, being receptive to the higher self. Also, you know, really good for like cleansing, purification, aspects of anything to do with the home or the family, or even the ancestral and the ancestral lineage is really, really good for this particular time of this full moon. It's powerful. It really is very, very powerful. The other major thing is that, you know, it does make a conjunction to Mars, which is retrograde in Cancer. And so that's quite a volatile kind of mixture that is coming through with this particular energy that can be hard to handle, a bit temperamental. And so again, you know, if you feel this full moon energy, just be really careful about not projecting anger onto other people or expecting other people to come up with solutions to any of your problems. It's about taking responsibility. It's about being assertive, but not being overly emotional or irrational in the behavior at this time. It's a very, very powerful because the Mars is going retrograde, so it's going inner. So this is a classic would be, you know, somebody who, you know, is blaming themselves too much or putting too much anger on themselves and not exploring it or anger. But you don't do it to another person, but you have to find ways or positive ways of it, of being assertive and expressing that anger in a positive way. So that's a little bit, it has that sort of temperamental aspect to it that can be quite difficult to handle, particularly if you've got planets around that sensitive area of 23 degrees in Cancer or in the opposition, which is Capricorn, or the square, which would be Aries or Libra, the cardinal signs basically. On the 19th, round about 8 o'clock UK time, the sun goes into Aquarius, and that is really kind of interesting, particularly for you, the USA, because on the 20th, you've got your new president elected in. So that's when the sun goes into Aquarius, which is typically revolutionary in its temperament. The modern ruler, of course, is Uranus. So it brings out a little bit of that instability, that edginess politically, particularly in the USA. And it might just kind of feel like that things are changing at quite a pace. And it might feel that there's this weird combination, because, you know, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, the traditional ruler, and Uranus, the modern ruler. So there's a kind of tradition meets the revolutionary, and that's the energy that's coming forward at that particular time, which is powerful. And this is off the back of that full moon as well, which I said is volatile to say the least. And then the next major event we got on the 28th, we've got Mercury goes into Aquarius, where it's very, very happy. And then on the 29th, we've got a new moon in Aquarius at 9 degrees in Aquarius. So we're really into the period of the Aquarius energy really kind of dominating, and that can be, again, unpredictable, humanitarian, but also kind of left of center. You don't really know what you're going to get with that particular energy. It can be very, very sort of tricky and difficult. And here's the major thing. On the 30th, Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, starts to move forward. And that is really kind of significant, because it's going to kind of rocket through. And of course, you know, next year, which I'll do a separate video on, Uranus is going to go into Gemini. And that kind of brings to the energy of the month. So we've got this strongly Aquarian energy that's taking place. Also, another significant thing is the moon's nodes. So the north node will shift around about the 12th, from Aries into Pisces at 29 degrees. And then you've got that north node, again, making a conjunction to Neptune, which is at the tail end of Pisces as well, moving forward about 27 degrees. So significance there as well. And, you know, the opposite sign of Pisces is Virgo, so that's where the south node is. So you've got this for the next, you know, 18 months, you've got this polarity to do with self-sacrifice, and surrendering to something bigger. And this is on a collective basis, how we all cope with that energy of, do we give too much, or do we spend time on our individuality and that kind of aspect here. This is going to play out obviously collectively. The other thing is that we've got that Pluto that's, as I've stated in previous videos, in Aquarius. And I think that the second half of January is when we'll really start to feel that, and how that's going to play out over the next 20 years. Some of the themes that come out, particularly, as I said, on January the 20th. And this is a very, very sort of powerful month, actually, where it's almost like the seeds of what's to become start sort of coming up to the surface. So the main things that we look at and say, well, do you know what, actually, that feels like there's something completely new coming in, is going to start to emerge during this particular period. So you can see that January is very, very powerful in its nature of how it actually plays out over the 4-week period. The one planet I haven't really mentioned is Saturn. Saturn is still moving forward in Pisces, and it starts about 14 degrees, and at the end of the month goes to about 17 degrees. So if you've got planets in multiple signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, around about 14, 15, 16, 17 degrees, and you're affected quite a bit by Saturn's energy, and therefore it's all about limitations, duty, responsibility, and almost like just get through it kind of aspect. So it's quite a big month that's coming up for January. Okay, for this next bit, I'm going to look at the 12 signs of zodiac and how they're going to be affected, and this is for Aries, sun sign or rising sign. Okay, Aries, so your ruler, Mars. Well, that is retrograde, and is retrograde throughout the whole month, but it switches from the zodiac sign of Leo, which is another fire sign, right into Cancer around about the 6th, 7th. And that is telling, because Cancer it rules your 4th house, and that's the house of the home environment. And this really goes back to November period of last year, and all the stuff that happened during that period to do with family, home, property, ancestral lineage, and your sense of security. And things that flared up in November are going to come back in to really patch it up and to work on it and to understand it and to process it, are going to come up. Now, Aries is one side of the zodiac that does not like to really look back. It likes to move forward all the time, and it just does not have an opportunity during January, because it's dealing with that energy of a retrograde of its planetary ruler, and it's in the 4th house. And the 4th house is quite good for Mars, actually, surprisingly. Mars is, in traditional astrology, what we call a nocturnal planet, and that's the nocturnal area of the natal chart. So it can function. It just means you have to be very assertive, but not too direct, particularly when dealing with family members during this particular period. And that could be kind of challenging in a lot of ways, because, you know, family members might try and push your buttons and make things a bit more difficult for you. You might be like, oh, getting kind of exhausted by that. It's really kind of reviewing things a lot here as well. Jupiter is also retrograde in your 3rd house still, and that's strong as well, because the 3rd house is all about communication, but you've got Jupiter that brings expansion, and it can't bring an expansion because it's just going backwards. So it's all about thinking about how you would like to react to situations and bringing in that energy. So it's a quieter month for Aries, actually. A lot's going to happen with Aries in 2025. A lot. They've got, you know, Neptune and Saturn going into their own zodiac sign, and that includes, of course, you Aries risings as well. But I feel like this is going to be a very strong month. Venus is in your 12th house, works very good creatively, spiritually, really, really nice. So absolutely, it's a bit of a quieter month, and it's a month where patience is needed, and just a sense of taking time out and reviewing things. Okay, Taurus. Well, Taurians, your Venus is going to be, for the majority of the month, in your 11th house, and that's the house of friendships, groups, societies, hopes, dreams, wishes. Sometimes the money that you get from your employer. So Venus is a nocturnal planet, and it's in a day house, which is the 11th house, a diurnal house. So very busy socially coming up for you. Lots of demand socially. Lots of people sort of saying, come to this, come to that, can you help me out with this? Now, Taurus, I wouldn't say was an extroverted sign. Actually, I would say it was more introverted on a level. And so the fact that they're being asked to do stuff and being social might be, for some signs it might be, oh my God, that's great. But for Taurus, it might be, but you're taking up my precious spare time. I don't really want this, and I don't. But because Taurus feels duty quite heavily, it feels it's got to do what it says it's got to do. So on one level, you'd like, well, okay, this Venus energy is great. For some signs, for Taurus, it's like, yeah, okay, it's okay, but I'm going to be busy, and I'd rather do my own thing, thank you very much. So it's again how you respond to that. If you're a Taurus who's born with the sun above the horizon, usually the 7th to the 12th houses, then you might find it's much more comfortable. If you're a Taurus born below the horizon at night time, then you might find this a little bit more tricky, and that your time is taken up by other people's energies too much, and you're like, oh, I don't really like that. So that's what you've got. You've also got the Mars retrograde. That's in your 3rd house, so the house of communication. So again, you might be getting frustrated with how you communicate or how people communicate with you, and therefore, you know, that brings out a certain amount of frustration that's probably best not to, you know, express. I would say. Jupiter's retrograde in your second house, which is your financial house this month still. So again, finances, bit sort of one step forward, two steps back. Looks like there's lots of promises, but hasn't really delivered. Wait till February when that does deliver. And Saturn is also in your 11th house as well. So again, it's a funny month, Taurus. It's like a lot's expected from them, lots of invitations, lots of people saying, well, could you do, and them not actually kind of, by the end of the month going, oh, I'm just tired, I just want to be on my own. I think that energy is very much going to be part of a Taurus for the month ahead for you. The other big news is on the 30th that Uranus moves direct, and that is huge because the next major transit will be in the middle of the year when Uranus goes into Gemini, and it does later on in the year go briefly back into Taurus. But I kind of think the 30th for a lot of Taurians should be a little bit celebratory. You know, you should celebrate it because, you know, this is the last stage, or the last waltz almost of Uranus, and you know, Uranus and Taurus don't get along, and they've been with each other for 6.5 years, and I think for most Taurians they'll be very, very pleased on that date, and they'll just feel like, oh right, I've got a sense of control that things are actually moving in the right direction for me. Okay, let's go straight to Gemini. And Geminis are ruled, of course, by Mercury, and this is for Gemini rising as well. And Mercury's, you know, it's basically going through 3 signs of zodiac. In the first quarter, it's in Sagittarius, then it goes into Capricorn, and right at the end, it goes into Aquarius. Now, Mercury obviously moves fast, and when it moves through like signs of zodiac like that in a month, it means that things actually move at quite a quick pace. Geminis love that. You know, the one thing that Geminis do not like is boredom, and this is the thing. So you know, life is going to move forward. So it moves from your 7th house to on the 9th. It goes into your 8th house. So the 7th house is other people, relationships. 8th house is other people's money. The therapeutic house, and then it will go into your 9th house, which will be right at the end, about 29th. Where, you know, that's the house of travel, exploration, spiritual development, philosophy. So it sort of picks up pace. So as we go hurtling towards the end of the month, it gets busier for Aquarians. Sorry, not Aquarians, Geminis. Lots of Aquarius around January. That's why it keeps coming in. And so Geminis can kind of work with that particular energy. They've still got the Saturn squaring the Sun, and that I feel is for some Geminis, particularly if you're born around about the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th of June, I feel like you're being kind of submerged by Saturn at the moment and feeling very stuck or limited in what you can do, and it's very heavy and it just seems to be slow. It's picking up pace. You know, Saturn is beginning to move faster now. And this is kind of like the last energy of it coming at you. Those people born those dates I was given, those in June, they have been really bombarded by Saturn's energy for a good 6, 7, 8 months. It's been really hard work. So, so for Geminis, the butterfly has not been able to play, but don't worry, things are moving forward for you guys. Also, Jupiter in your own sign, this is retrograde. And, you know, Jupiter retrograde in your own sign is like, oh, lots could happen, but it's not really happened yet, has it? So promises that are just not materialized. So you're really kind of looking at that energy being quite difficult. So be kind of aware of that. But generally, I think a busy month, not as scattered as December. A little bit more grounded and a little bit easier for you. And actually, I feel like, you know, you'll just sort of feel very much that energy that's just, okay, things are working now in the right way. Okay, Cancer, sun sign and rising sign. So the big news about Cancerians this month is that full moon on the 13th. So when I say full moon on the 13th, I also mean look at the dates of the 11th, 12th, 13th, of course, 14th and 15th. And this is an unpredictable full moon. It's a 23 degrees in Cancer, and so it's in your own sign, and it's conjunct a retrograde Mars in your own sign. So you've got Mars to contend with as well as a full moon. So this is a highly volatile month, particularly the dates that I've just given you. And you know, Cancerians absorb, and they take in, and they take in other people's energy, and they take in environments, and they're very sensitive to all of that. So during this particular period in this month, you've got to be very careful of that. So you'll pick up anger, you'll pick up the projection of other people, you know, and this is all exaggerated by that Mars retrograde, you know, and you know, Mars in Cancer is in its fall. It cannot work. It just does not work. It finds it very difficult. So it's a bit of a charged month, and particularly that 13th, whereby you have to, you know, take time out, look after yourself. You know, don't make any major decisions during this time. Don't, you know, think you've got to be bold or anything like that. You know, it's got to feel right. So, you know, Cancerians have this amazing intuition. Use it. Don't be scared of it, you know. And it may need a lot of contemplation and a bit of stepping back and going, okay, what do I want, you know, and what feels right for me. Your moods might go up and down during that period. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed by some of the energy, but just be careful. Don't get bogged down by that too much. It's volatile. You know, in your 12th house, you've got Jupiter retrograde. That's like the spiritual basis, like stepping back, taking time out. So be kind of aware of that. I feel that's really kind of important. And, you know, Saturn in Pisces is moving forward. So, you know, if you're born around about the sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th of July, Saturn is trining your sun, and really that's helping a lot. It's giving a lot of support, a lot of focus and self-discipline that can get you through this quite a volatile month that's got a few hiccups on the way. But if you stay true to yourself, you use your intuition, and you don't react to others, then you'll be fine. Okay, Leo sun and rising sign. Okay, Leos, the sun starts off in Capricorn, and then on the 19th it moves into your 7th house, which is the house of relationships, and you've already got Pluto in there, and you're still getting used to Pluto and the energy of Pluto and how it works. Now, put the sun in there. Wherever the sun transits through the house as the area of life, it lights up for that month and goes, this is what you're gonna have to focus on. This is what's gonna come up. So this is relationships, other people's expectations, other people's emotions, other people's wants, desires. Going to be a real kind of focus here. And there's a lot of kind of Aquarian energy coming in for you. You've got Mercury at the end of the month that also is going to be entering into that house as well. So the planet of communication for you. So it's a significance about it, you know. Also, Uranus moving direct on the 30th is in your 10th house, 10th solar house, which is the house of your career. So things might begin to actually move in the career front all of a sudden, and quickly, because that's what Uranus does. It doesn't hang around, particularly when it's stopped being retrograde. It moves quickly. It's like power, there it goes, very, very fast. So Leos are getting a lot of other people's energy here, and looking at the archetype of Leo, do Leos really like that? Because they like to be the center of attention. Not all of them, certainly, but they like to know themselves, know what they're doing, and bring that energy out. And at this stage, I think they find it very, very difficult to do it in January, because other people are going, what about me? What about me? What about me? So they're having to be patient. Again, this is the Pluto factor. That Pluto, and this is over the next 20 years, is going to bring out the themes of other people's hidden traits, motivations, secrets, and an aspect of control and power. And Leos have got to start to understand this. So Leos cannot be naive. This is the main lesson with other people that Leos are going to be learning. to not be naive, to know that people doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they have strong survival instincts, or that's the way they're brought up, might have ulterior motives than what you think. And so Leos are going to have to kind of get used to that. January starts to kick that, really bring that up to the surface and kick it into gear. Okay, Virgos. This is for Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising sign. Your ruler Mercury moves fast, very quickly. It starts off in your 4th house, which is the house of your home environment, then switches quickly around about the 8th of 9th into your 5th house, which is the house of creativity, self-expression. So this is going to be a highly creative month, where you can express yourself in an individualistic way or connect with others in a joyful way, you know, and just feel like you're connecting with people, but also you're expressing what's important to you. Really, really, really important. So that's one of the main kind of aspects that's going on. Venus is also going to be traveling in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. So you've got a very strong month about, again, connecting with others, relationships blossoming, the idealistic becoming quite a template for your month ahead, or looking at the best in people, or empathizing with their needs, connecting. Like Venus is in its rulership in the 7th house, and it's exalted in Pisces. It's really, really happy. So, you know, that's it. It also is going to connect with Saturn in the 7th house, and that be around about that sort of period, around about the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th of January, where it makes a conjunction in your 7th house. Those are significant dates to do with relationship developments to look out for and to be receptive in order to get the best out of them. You know, Venus is a diplomatic planet. That's what it does. And so certainly you've got that energy pulling through for you, Virgos. Okay, Librans, we're back to Venus, aren't we? Rules Libra. Yeah, okay, so Venus is going to be in Pisces. Really, you know, that is your 6th house, your working environment, your service to others, your general health, looking after yourself better, being diplomatic in your working environment, or changing the work environment to make it more aesthetically pleasing for you. But the main thing for Librans is that Mars in Cancer. And what does that mean? It basically means that there's a lot going on in the career area of your life. Would I advise to make changes in January for Librans? Probably not. I'd probably wait, see how things play out. Will authority figures cause a little bit of a problem? They may do, and it's best not to respond or react to them. Are other people's anger in the work area going to become a bit of a thing? Yeah, probably. Again, don't react to it. Be that diplomat that you are so good at. Will you feel frustrated in your job during the month of January? Again, yeah, I think you probably will, but don't make any major decisions. This misdirected energy could be just that things aren't moving quickly enough for you. That's the frustration. It might not be the job or what you're doing. It just might be the fact that it's just not going quick enough. You've got these plans and actions that you put in place and they're just not moving. They will move. They will move. But you see that Mars in the 10th house is really causing you a little bit of problems. And it caused problems in November of last year. And it's really come in and sort of said, right, okay, what happened in November in Korea is come back in, deal with this. But don't deal with it in a way that's going to really tick other people off. Do it in a way that's diplomatic, brings in harmony, and makes you just appear assertive and direct and not aggressive or disruptive. Okay, who are we to next? Scorpio, Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Rising. Okay, your traditional ruler is Mars. Again, it's gone, you know, it's in your 9th house, solar house. It's not deeply affecting, but, you know, the Mars energy is retrograde, so your general energy levels are a little bit not quite there. It's like, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's not quite happening for you, but that's okay. You know, take time out pretty good time for a holiday, you know, if you can, if you're lucky enough to be able to. Your mod ruler is Pluto, which has shifted into your 4th house. So the stirring, the ancestral stirrings, the need for security, the need to control, really come up this surface this month. And, you know, this is also going to be brought up by the sun on the 19th going into your 4th house. So there's a lot about, you know, where do I feel at home? Where do I gain my sanctuary? Where do I get my peace? What's my happy place? Where does that go? Those energies really kind of coming in very, very strongly for you. Uranus on the 30th starts moving direct in Taurus in your 7th house. That should get things moving. This has been a very complicated 7 years for Scorpio. It's to do with other people and relationships and partnerships, whether romantic or business, all there. So that kind of gets things kind of moving in a way. But, you know, for me, this month is all about the nurturing, the home environment, and feeling that Pluto energy of, I need to transform my home environment. How do I do it? That may be to do with work as well, and working issues and where you work. And some of those ideas coming up in January for you. Okay, Sagittarius. Well, listen, Saggies, you know, the Archers, this is for the sun and rising sign, Saggies. You know, your ruler Jupiter, still retrograde, has been since October, in the opposite sign of Gemini. So you're getting some interesting people come into your life. They're not staying. They're not hanging around for too much longer. But they're interested in the being sort of catalysts of change. And you're kind of going, oh, I like this. But this is kind of interesting. But it's not dramatically moving your life forward. But that's okay. Right at the start of the month, Mercury's in your own sign. That was retrograde in December for the first half, and it's starting moving forward. So things do seem at a faster pace for you, which you'll like as well. You've got Saturn moving forward in your 4th house, which is the house of home. So you feel a bit steadier ground and not so ploddy in the home environment. So responsibilities over the last 2 years, perhaps getting a little bit easier. You know, Sagittarius might be avoiding the home life for the last couple of years, or tried to swerve it and haven't been able to, and had to actually go through it. But that's starting to kind of become a little bit easier. And you got Venus as well going in the 4th house, which is helping you with that home environment. I just feel like a lot of Sagittarians are going to be feeling, okay, you know what? It's not the firecracker month to start the new year in, but I feel that things are going to change. I think that's the mantra for Sagittarians. It's not going to be the most exciting month. It's not the vintage month of 2025, but it is a month of anticipation. There's something, things are going to shift, and they are going to shift in February when Jupiter starts moving forward in your opposite sign of Gemini. Okay, Capricorns, this is kind of your month. The sun is in Capricorn till the 19th. We've got Mercury that will be traveling halfway through the month in your own sign. Saturn's moving forward. You can plan. I want to get things done. This is what I want to achieve for the year ahead. Capricorns love that. It's that strong survival in the northern hemisphere of it's cold, you pay the credit card bills, you know, save up for the future. Well, Capricorns love this. This kind of sense of survival and the survival of the fittest and all that kind of Darwin energy that Capricorns can have. But, you know, to me, actually, I think that there's a softness as well, because you've got Venus going into your 3rd house of communication, which is kind of like being able to express yourself to other people, connect to other people with your ideas in a nice diplomatic way that people appreciate. Charming way, I would say, actually. I'm going to use the word charming. And, you know, so I think that's going to be really kind of nice. So it does soften this kind of nature. It's like, I'm going to do plans, but not just for myself, I'm going to do for other people kind of scenario. So people respond to that in a really kind of positive, nice way. And that's kind of the energy that's taking place. Because you've had Saturn sort of transiting in the 3rd house for the last couple of years. So you've kind of, you've been communicating directly in a much more thorough way. People know exactly where they're coming from with you, and this Venus energy just softens that here as well. And Capricorn, this is a good month. You know, Pluto's gone out your own sign. That happened late last year, so you're kind of happy and a little bit miffed as to why don't I feel as heavy as I have done for the last 14 years? Why do I feel a bit kind of like, ooh, maybe even empty, or where's that power and that control and facing one's fears? It's gone. It's gone. You don't need to do that. You don't need to exert your energy onto that. Forget it. Let it go. But it might take a while for you Capricorns to actually register that and actually appreciate that. Okay, Aquarians. 19th, the sun goes into Aquarians, so the birthday month. Yeah, Aquarians are still settling with the Pluto, and I talked about this in the previous video for December. They really are, and the Aquarians, lots of Aquarius suns and rising signs are coming to see me at the moment, because they've suddenly got this kind of shift of energy from Pluto going, what is going on? Why do I feel like this? And I think this is the month that you start to actually get used to that Pluto energy and go, okay, I know what I'm working with now. I know what I'm going to be dealing with. And your ability to transform the lives of other people is going to be extraordinary, you know, over a 20-year period. But particularly, I feel January is really kind of when you start to believe that and see that, and you feel like you have kind of faced your own fears and you're not scared of anyone or anything. So it's a very, very powerful month that's taking place. You know, look after your health. You've got that full moon on the 13th, conjunct to Mars. So that's falling in your 6th house, the house of health. So just be kind of a bit more mindful about that. Look after yourself here. Saturn is moving forward in your 2nd house. So financial situations are getting a little bit easier now. And you've got Venus in Pisces. Also in your 2nd house. Try not to overspend on the good things in life. I mean, you probably will with Venus going through your 2nd house, but try not to, because you've got Saturn in there, particularly in the middle of the month. So Saturn will go, Saturn's like the credit card bill that you thought, oh, I thought I paid it off last month. No, you didn't, coming in. So just be very mindful of that. And finally, Pisces. Okay, Pisces, Venus in your own sign for the majority of the month. Lovely, exalted, happy, very nice energy. Meeting up with Saturn. I think that a lot of Pisces are going to be kind of like really looking forward to this year 2025. If you're born with, you know, the sun in Pisces, so you're born around about 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th of March, then you've got Saturn conjunct your sun, so you are working hard and being self-disciplined. And obviously Venus will be meeting up with that as well. Neptune, your modern ruler, is rocketing forward in your own sign. It's at about 27 degrees at the beginning, and it's 27 degrees at the end of the month. So, you know, if you're born at the end of Pisces, then you're still dealing with that Neptunian energy, but things are starting to clear up. Things are looking a bit more clear, a bit more clarity. You're not kind of getting so influenced by the unconscious or your subconscious as much, and you're starting to settle the emotions and the creativity and imagination down a little bit there. But also I feel like for a lot of Pisceans, it's going to feel like things are actually starting to feel a bit more solid. And, you know, we've got a switch with Pisces, because as soon as that Neptune on the 30th of March leaves Pisces, it does go back briefly in towards the end of the year, but as soon as we're going to see a very, very different Pisces start to emerge, you know, which is much more directed to money and to possessions and to self-value and all that kind of stuff. But the Venus element is good times, and actually celebrating quite a lot and connecting with people and loved ones and being really kind of receptive to the creativity and the spirituality that is such an embedded part of being a Pisces. Okay, there you go. That's your January 2025 forecast. Please subscribe and like the video, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon, and thank you all for watching.